Everybody knows somebody who hates their job. And maybe that somebody's even you. In fact, half of the people in the United States who work would do something else for a living if given the chance. That's an epidemic. Hey, look, I know it's hard to change. It's easier to stick with the devil you know. Walking away from a paycheck and benefits, that doesn't fit conventional wisdom. And doing something more meaningful, who wants to make less money? But when I think about this subject, I think of my grandfather, my immigrant grandfather who left Poland alone on a boat at 17 years old to go to New York City. And I wonder what he would think about us talking about being happy at work. Happy, he would say, happy at work. Put food on the table, that's happy. What are you talking about happy? My dad, first generation American, he was the first to go to college, the first to have a good corporate job. His was the 1960s version of being happy at work, but he really wasn't. And today the research shows that to be happy at work, people want to be engaged. They want to have mastery over their subject matter. They do want to know that what they do matters more than the paycheck they get. So if we know that, why is it that 50% of us can't figure out what we want to do with our life? Well, I think it's because when we're in doubt, we look to our resume. We look to our credentials, what we're qualified to do. And what we're qualified to do is not necessarily what we're meant to do. It isn't necessarily what's going to bring us satisfaction. Think of an egg, if you will. From a little hummingbird egg to an ostrich egg, all of them are a roundish shell. For people, that shell are our credentials, our track record, our accomplishments, and our resume. A lot of us get attached to that shell. It becomes our identity, and that's what makes it hard to change. But to get to the good stuff, you have to crack the egg open, because inside is the yolk, the golden center. That's where the DNA is. That's what determines how each egg is unique. And for people, I call that yolk their life blueprint. So everything that can be taken away is the shell, the status, your identity, what people think of you, the perks, the salary. But what can't be taken away is the yolk, and that's where the discovery of career satisfaction can happen. Maybe it's more important to understand that career satisfaction doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you get to be while you're doing that job. Who your job allows you to be, that's where the happiness comes from. So the shell is what you do, but the yolk is who you get to be. When I was in my 20s, I wanted nothing more than to be a Broadway star. Well, I did reasonably well. I got my union card, I worked in reputable theaters, and I gave myself 5 years to make it, and at year 8, I was still waiting on tables. And so I grew despondent, I really did. I was almost suicidal over the fact that I thought that I failed at the only thing I ever wanted. Why hadn't this dream come true for me? I'd worked so hard, I invested so much. 10 years after I left show business, I had an epiphany about this. I remembered a scholarship that I was up for an acting program where they asked me, what would be possible if you were successful as a performer? And the answer came to me in a flash. But I knew it was like the right answer, the Miss America pageant answer, the eldest child answer, the I'm gonna get the scholarship answer. So I went up to the mic and I said, well, if I were successful as a performer, people would see me on stage and be moved to change something in their life. That answer got me the scholarship. But it wasn't until 10 years later when I realized what I really had said. The performer was the shell. Causing change from the stage, that was the yolk. That was me. So I hadn't failed at my dream after all. I just suffered from a misinterpretation of my dream. I needed to allow the dream to change form. And I think that's what's wrong for a lot of us when we can't figure it out, is no one's taught us to pull the dream apart and understand the true significance of it. We're told we can be anything we want to be when we grow up. When we go to pick that college major, though, the question changes from what do you want to be when you grow up to how you're going to make a living at that. We haven't been taught what our dreams and machinations really mean to our career trajectory. John was someone who heard me speak about this concept, and he was